Ladies and gentlemen, as we have introduced our keynote speakers on the dais, next up I would like to call Mr. Anirban Das Gupta to please come up on the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a huge round of applause? Mr. Anirban Das Gupta would be speaking on tin plate and eco-friendly packaging.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to be here. Thank you, Mcma. Thank you, the entire fraternity of the metal packaging industry to have invited us to share our views on the topic today, which is eco-friendly packaging material. And I'll be speaking something more about the sustainability initiatives that the world has taken and how we in India are following the footsteps towards being more sustainable and being an eco-friendly packaging medium. This has been spelled out already by Mr. Bhatia, Mr. Saha, that what is the definition of sustainability? So it is basically talking about meeting the needs of today without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet theirs. So when we talk about a sustainable society or an environment, we talk about the social needs, the economic needs, and the environmental needs. And from these three pillars, what we see is that while there has been a lot of development in the economic and the social front, the environmental credentials are getting a bit compromised, if I may say, in terms of the replenishment of the natural resources that is expected to be replenished. It's not happening at that same rate. And in accordance, UN, they actually, all the big countries, the developed economies, they came together and then they came up with what they called as the Sustainable Development Goals. So they identified 17 such goals, and interestingly, 7 out of those 17 goals talk absolutely about environment and the eco-friendliness parameters which we are all grappling with today. And in line with that, everybody is talking about how to preserve our natural resources, whether it's air, water, plants, forests, so that we are in a much more safer position tomorrow. The Global Risk Report 2023, the countries which worked on this, they identified the short-term risks and the long-term risks on a global landscape. And if you find the common features which are the high-risk elements, talks about the natural disruptions in weather conditions, natural resources getting depleted and not getting replenished, failure to climate change adoption. So the climate and environmental risks, whether in the short term or in the long term, happens to be one of the biggest concerns that the world is facing today. And when we actually plot the risks on the various scales of digital, on economic, on social, on technological, geopolitical, you see that there is a lot of interconnection and interconnectivity between them. And the common thread that's coming out is the ecosystem may collapse. It's a very, very big concern that the ecosystem may collapse. There could be threatening of food supplies, livelihoods, climate's vulnerable economies if the sustainability measures are not in place. And we can see more and more such issues. I'll come to that slightly later. Talking about the global temperatures, the greenhouse gases, the way they are being used, and there is absolutely no control on the usage for that. And in the last 4 years, we have seen the 4 hottest seasons from the time that mankind has started, keeping track of the temperature levels across various geographies. And in 2015, it was decided in the Paris Agreement that there has to be sustainable efforts towards reducing the temperature increase trends that we've been seeing over the years. And if it doesn't happen, by 2100, the prediction is the temperatures could rise above 3 degrees, which could cause an irreversible damage to the ecosystem, which is a big, big concern. And of course, we all know that how the carbon footprint measurements have started. There is an ISO for that. And the greenhouse gas protocols are very, very stringent nowadays in what kind of emission norms, whether it's vehicular emissions, whether it's industrial pollution, whether it's garbage. So all these measures are in place in terms of ensuring that the industry does not pollute beyond what it is taking from the society. A small snippet on the garbage pollution. Now, if we see what has happened in the Pacific, there is about 2 million tons of plastic which has been dumped. And it spreads across about 1.6 million square kilometers, which is roughly about 3 times the size of France. And this is just not getting biodegraded at this point of time. And accordingly, there has been bans across the world, 127 countries restricting complete manufacture and distribution of plastic, 27 countries talking about specific products like plates, cups, and all these things where single use will be banned. And there are 63 countries which have started extended producer responsibility, including India, where there is a very clear roadmap and a mandate on what kind of retraceability and recyclability is going to be done wherever the plastic is being used. And what is the outcome of all these so-called industrial revolution that we've seen in the last 50 years? We can see one after the other natural disasters happening. And the worst part is that we see in the same region adjacent droughts and floods, which is complete ecological imbalance which has got created. And this needs to be arrested immediately. And this is where we come to what needs to be done. So things like circular economy, where we talk about reduce, reuse, manufacture, and recycle. And we from the steel industry happen to be in the core of it when we talk about recycling, because the steel industry itself, or the steel manufacturing itself, uses the same material over and over again. And it's inherently embedded in the manufacturing system of recyclability and eco-friendliness. We are talking about the credentials, which Dr. Saha also had mentioned a little while back. More than 70% of the steel getting recycled. Otherwise, every ton of steel that we make fresh actually consumes 1.5 tons of carbon dioxide, which presently there is a conscious effort of reducing that. And of course, how to recover the steel from even a mixed garbage is not an issue, because it's got its magnetic properties. And this is just a snapshot of what happens when we produce 1 ton of steel. We use 1.5 tons of iron ore, 0.6 tons of coal, and limestone about 0.3 tons. So all these things will get saved when we recycle the steel from the scrap. And these are the properties by which even we know that even if steel has been incinerated, we can still recover steel from the ash because of the magnetic properties. And the kind of enormous potential it has in terms of saving energy. One single steel can save something like a 1 laundry load, 1 hour of TV. This kind of energy can be saved. Giving an example of what has happened in Europe, and then we'll come to India. So in India, there is more than 80% of the metal packaging is getting recycled in steel, more than 75%, 74% in aluminum. When it comes to specifically tin plate packaging, it's at 95%. And it is because of the inherent properties of magnetic properties, where it can be easily retraced and recycled and reused. Specifically coming to some of the roadmap that we've taken at Tata Steel, where we are talking about the parameters on climate change, water usage, circular economy, emissions, product sustainability. So what we are trying to achieve, there are specific goals in line with the net zero guidelines of the UN. So by 2025, by 2030, we've got very, very specific goals, like for climate change, 1.8 tons of carbon dioxide per every ton of crude steel produced. For water, we are aiming at water neutrality by 2030. For all other emission norms, we have very, very clear benchmark targets where we are aiming to give back to the environment what we have taken during the manufacturing process. Other sustainability measures, which again Dr. Saha briefly mentioned about the environment product declaration. This is in line with ISO 14040 and 14044 guidelines, where life cycle assessment, Dr. Saha mentioned about the life cycle assessment. So environment product declaration based on the life cycle assessment is a very, very structured scientific program that is being taken over across the world. And presently our Tata Steel works at Jamshedpur, Kalinganagar, Tarapur, ISWP, all the processing centers are covered under this. And we are pleased to inform you that in 2020, 2023, 22-23, hot rolled coil and structured hollow sections and rebars have been declared under the EPD. And the hot rolled coil happens to be the raw material used for tin plate making, which is about 75% of the tin plate production comes from the HR, sourced from Tata Steel. Other sustainability measures, like we are talking about steel recycling. Tata Steel has set up its first recycling plant at Rohtak, and there are 2 more in the pipeline. The idea is to get more and more quality scrap recovered from the system, and which gets into manufacturing of other steel products, like manufacturing of structurals and for the household construction segment. This is another interesting experiment that has been done, and it is successful at this point of time. Tata Steel took the largest trial on hydrogen gas being used in terms of steel making, and it has been a success. It's a huge change towards the green manufacturing, and the potential at this point of time looks like at least 10% reduction in CO2 emissions, which in one initiative, if we are able to achieve this on a sustained basis on an industrial production, it's going to be a huge game changer towards the green manufacturing of steel. Coming to tin plate companies specifically, we have started retrieving used cans, which is banned by the government of India. There is a gazette which very clearly mandates that no packaging can be reused when it is being used for food packaging. But we all know that especially in 15 kg, 15 liter edible oils, there is a rampant use of tin cans. So JSW also has started on this, and my colleague Mr. Ramanathan will be speaking on this subsequently. So we've also started retrieving these cans, because the bigger concern is the health hazards that it creates to the society when the oil gets filled into a so-called unclean can, because it still contains a lot of the soda, the soaps that are being used for cleaning, and it's not cleaned in a hygienic condition, and the oil gets filled there, and it has been proven to be carcinogenic. So our efforts towards recyclability of steel is also happening through this initiative. Of course, at the plant, We are presently a zero liquid discharge company, zero waste discharge company. We are also into rainwater harvesting and solar power harnessing in terms of using the natural resources more than the fossil fuels. Coming to the packaging, of course, we've got all experts from the packaging industry today. The world has moved from a packaging being just a method for containing the product inside towards being eco-efficient, sustainable, and a brand by itself. The packaging actually carries the brand value along with itself. And in that initiative, tin plate or metal packaging has got one of the best credentials in terms of the barrier properties, no oxygen intake inside the packaging when it's in a sealed condition. One of the highest filling rates, which of course reduces the energy consumption, the lowest failure rates, 1 in a million. And in the last 30 years, the steel industry has been constantly and consciously going for lightweighting. There is about 30% reduction in weights in food can in the last 30 years in tin plate, and almost similar in aluminum, about 26%. And we also discussed about how, especially in a country like India, how natural growth of fruits, vegetables, poultry, meat gets spoiled because it doesn't get packed properly. Now, when we can it, whether it's fruits, vegetables, or anything, the typical shelf life after a properly canned product is about 1.5 to 2.5 years. Whereas when we do not process it and we keep it in its natural form, it tends to degrade within a few days or weeks. And India still has got a 30% wastage percentage of fresh fruits and vegetables. And of course, we know all the wonderful barrier properties of tin plate, which keeps its fragrance, flavorings, everything perfect in the way it is packed. Some steps forward, maybe food for thought, which we already have started. And thanks to, once again, MCMA, that we are working together with Mcma, with food safety authorities, with Ministry of Food Processing, Ministry of Health, where we are jointly talking about how to make eco-friendly packaging medium more and more amenable and available to the mass scale media. Reduce food wastage. We just now talked about how much wastage we have in India, and whereas India is one of the highest producer of fruits and vegetables in the world. We are actively working with the government agencies to implement the food safety norms. For example, stop the usage of reusage of cans. Use the social media, the digital platform to communicate to the larger masses. And the target audience would be the younger generation, the Gen Z, as they call it today, who are very, very open to understanding what are the ill effects of environment. Drive innovation in packaging. We have talked about lightweighting and consumer convenience. And of course, as manufacturers, we will have to drive the green manufacturing across the value chain, whether it's a tin plate manufacturer or a can manufacturer or a filler. And with that, I'll end with one small, maybe a super dude. There is Popeye the sailor who, if you have seen the cartoon, whenever he needs a little bit of extra energy, maybe some more bright ideas that he needs to get into, he just pops up a can and has some spinach. So the point here is, yes, we can the products properly, and it's going to make us stronger and more intelligent in the times to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that valuable information. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the opportunity I take to present the memento to our speakers. So I would like to call Mr. Purushottam Patel to please come up on the stage and present the memento to Mr. Anirban Das Gupta. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Anirban Das Gupta. Ladies and gentlemen, we also want to give the token of appreciation, the memento, to Dr. Prakash Kondekar. So I request Dr. Prakash Kondekar to please come up on the stage. And may I now request Mr. Om Agarwal to please come up on the stage and present the memento to Dr. Prakash. Everyone, can we have a huge round of applause once again? Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Dr. Prakash, for that valuable insights. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead. Next up, I would like to call Mr. Ravi Purbe. He'll be talking on sustainable technologies and development. Also with him, we'll be having Mr. Damien Foucault. He'll be talking on risk assessment and risk management for food contact coatings in metal packaging. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ravi Kumar Purbe is a business development manager, IME Henkel. He has completed his B.Tech Chemical Engineering from UD City. He has overall 19 years of production, R&D, technical services experience in metal packaging coatings, can sealants, closure compounds for food, beer, and general line, metal coil and general industry surface treatment chemicals in many specialist fields. Ravi is representing Directs Henkel in Indian subcontinent since 2010. Mr. Ravi Purbe will speak on sustainable technologies and development. Joining with him virtually is Mr. Damien Foucault. Mr. Damien Foucault is a global sustainability manager, metals in Germany. He's a chemical engineer from European School of Chemistry and Master of Science in Material, specialized in polymer chemistry from the University of Strasbourg, France. Mr. Damien has 9+ years of product development experience at Henkel around sealing applications, automotive and metal packaging with operations responsibilities. Joined Metal Packaging Business Unit in January 2018 after Henkel acquisition of Directs. Led the EMEA product development and technical customer service for packaging sealants in Epernay, France. Since September 2021, globally responsible for the sustainability strategy at Metals Business Unit. Mr. Damien Foucault will speak on risk assessment and risk management for food coating in metal packaging. Everyone, can we have a huge round of applause for both our speakers here?
To talk as the MCMA, it's very much appreciated. Before we start, just we have 2 slides, a brief introduction about Henkel. Well, last year we had net sales, of 22 billion, globally. We operate in 56 countries and we have a bit more than 160 plants around the world. And especially, EMEA is a growing region where we invest a lot, and not least to mention that we are deeply committed to the community and we invest a lot as a family company into social projects, throughout the world. And for us, sustainability is something where we want to truly be leaders, and this has been recognized, by external ratings. So sustainability is driving our innovation and our portfolio management, and we want to partner, with our customers, with the value chain. This means, the steel manufacturers, the aluminum manufacturers, and our customers to have an impact. And you can see here some of the highest rankings that we have had last year. We are very proud of it, but it's an invitation, to accelerate and do a lot more, and we are happy to contribute and to make a progress on this topic with you together. What is really of utmost importance for us, it's about, the substance of concern, and this will be the topic of the talk today, how we can assess and manage the risk linked to food contact materials. Ravi will be more talking about, the emissions, low temperature curing coatings, low temperature. Ravi, I think the slides are moving. So basically, water is as well a very important topic. So we are developing, new technologies, for help you reduce the water consumption or repurpose it and reuse it in your process. I heard, the previous speaker as well mentioning, at Tata it's a key priority, and we are as well working, with Tata in UK, in Europe, on these topics. Emissions, Ravi will be talking about it. Low temperature cleaners, low temperature coatings. This is something that we want to put an emphasis on. And what we call sustainability impact measurements. Here as well, as the previous speaker mentioned, the life cycle analysis, we are able to provide this data to any of our customers, and we are investing as well a lot to be able to provide all the data you need for the environmental product declaration, which we believe is becoming critical, especially in the architecture and the building industry, to be compliant with. So we are able to support you as well on this field. Now, when we look, at the substances of concern, how do we manage it? How do we manage it at Henkel? Well, basically, we have three main layers. We have what we call the chemicals under discussion. These are imminent issues that we see are happening on the short term, and it's a top-down decision. This means our global product safety and regulatory affairs, takes the decision to ban the chemicals, and we have to make Henkel globally compliant. This is based, on some regulatory restriction already in place on some place of the world that we roll out globally. It can be linked as well to some blacklists from our customers. So this is very much top-down and industry-specific. Then we look at the negatively flagged chemicals. This means here with a business unit and for our market, we look at specific chemicals which we believe on the short and mid-term will become an issue. And these chemicals are flagged, as challenge in our portfolio. So we have in our portfolio clear visibility of which products need to be reformulated or phased out, in the near future to ensure, a proactive stance on this topic and to ensure a future compliance, for our customers. And eventually, very application specific, we develop our own what we call metal watch list. Why is that? Well, to take into account, the food contact regulation. And here we incorporate, the different regulatory bodies, globally, the customer requirements, and as well as the brand owners. Because we believe, the topic is getting very much complex, and we have developed our own approach to ensure that any new product development is fit for the future, and we won't, go into an issue of reformulating or approval, in the next years. So these are three levels of scrutiny that we are in Henkel that help us, steer our portfolio and develop, a future-proof product in the future. And why we take such a stringent, approach? Well, you may be well aware that, there are different dynamics, globally. What we see happening is that, in some region, China and Japan, for instance, they are still accepting, new nominations for onto the positive list of food contact substances. So what we see happening is rather openness to add more substances allowed, for food contact materials, whereas in some other part of the world, like the Europe and the US, we tend to see a restriction of the substances allowed for food contact materials. So we have two complete different dynamics, one opening up for more substances, while having on the other side, a further stringent approach and a further restriction. And of course, we want our products to be globally compliant, so you see the complexity as a chemical industry we are facing. And on top of this very official list of chemicals that are allowed for food contact materials, we have as well to take into account, any brand owner's, guideline blacklist being, the one officially defined, and we know as well that there are strong preferences for them. So the landscape regarding regulatory is getting very much complex, and that's why with Henkel, global structure and network of food specialists, we are trying to account, each of these regulation happening across the globe, to develop our new product. And on top of that, we are closely monitoring, thanks to our central analytics, the evolution in the detection methods. And here, it's the advancement of the analytics, is putting into question all the work somehow that has been done so far. We are able to detect at lower ever limits, of migrate, and this means that the principle of no migration is not being challenged, because we are now detecting substances that we were in the past not able to do so. And basically here we need to go down back to the fundamentals of why are we measuring non-intentionally added substances. Well, basically we want to define, is there a harm for the end consumer of having this substance migrating into our product? And here we make a short reference to an article that has been recently published in 2021 by a task force for the packaging, including, some contributor from Danone and Sherwin-Williams, and we are happy to share this article where we are showing that at the end of the day, the analytical limits or the analytical tools are not the only appropriate methods to identify 100% of all migrants in the food contact materials. This approach needs to be complemented by a strong supply chain collaboration in order to pass on, critical information, in order to have, a full overview of all the materials that are migrating into the foodstuff. On top of it, the article strongly recommends to use complementary technique such as bioassay to really assess if the migrating substances pose human health or are critical to the human health and cause some health issue eventually. So this is a whole approach that we now have to consider. The analytics is one dimension of our risk management and risk assessment, but we need to complement it with other techniques such as bioassay, and we are going to develop that in a while. And basically what we try really to assess is how things are going to develop. And we believe that, measuring the migrates into the foodstuff is one dimension. But we believe, and we are getting ready for accounting for a lot more parameters. And core to that is a safe and sustainable by design principle. And we are accounting for a lot more dimensions and parameters when we develop our food contact materials. There are things related, to social criteria, environmental criteria. We see in Europe that the focus have been so far very much on human toxicity, and that they are adding a layer intentionally about ecotoxicity, the threat that we pose, to the environment, especially the substances linked to biopersistency is getting very much scrutiny, and there will be an update in Europe about the chemical sustainability strategy, and that will incorporate new parameters in order to assess, which substances are allowed for full contact materials. So we see here that, there will be a lot more dimensions that we need to account for when developing new chemical products going into the metal packaging and having a food contact. And here we are already, getting ready And how do we approach the topic? Three main layers. First, we are diligent, we are supply chain and the selection of our raw materials, and we do a human-based, stringent regulatory assessment. So basically we ask the strict chemical composition from our suppliers in order to check on paper, if there is any substances of concern or if there may be any issues, with migration. Second, we work with, SQTS, Institute Nearing Eurofins, for having the more stringent migration testing based on the most critical conditions to assess, the amount of NIAS and to assess, the specific migration limit. And so to ensure that we are well below it. And eventually we have been implemented the state-of-the-art in vitro bioassay testing as requested and as suggested, in this recent paper article. And we have been doing so for the last years on our coatings and on our sealants. And this is what we call, the triple safety. So we do the regulatory assessment and the analytical assessment, just like any of our competitors. And we add on it, the toxicological assessment carried out as an external partner in Vienna. And this is a bioassay, so this is an in vitro testing of our product after migration testing. And here we are really proving that what migrates out of our product does not pose any threat, to the human health. So we are able to prove that there is no genotoxicity, there is no cytotoxicity of our products, when present in the final packaging. This is the state of the art. We are able to provide this triple safety to the new developments linked to our coatings and sealants. And basically, this is how it looks like. We are able to provide you such reports showing that, we have identified and quantified all the substances, having a specific migration limit, and all the NIAS, being, not specified, has been proven via the bioassay technique to not have any genotoxicity activity. So this is our approach, to the food contact materials topic in the coatings. And now, Ravi will walk you through more, some other topics that we are heavily investing, in IMEA and globally at Henkel.
Great. Thanks a lot, Damien. I appreciate that. I think when we are talking about the packaging industry, it's really, really important that we talk about all these regulatory compliances that comes into the picture. And that's what we thought that first of all, let us take you through the regulatory compliances part, how these food contact materials are being assessed, and then go for like couple of the sustainable technologies that are there into the fray for metal packaging. So metal packaging, we talk about like infinitely recyclable one, okay? And if we club it together with the sustainable solutions, I think we have a better chance when we go for economical, social governance part. So this can really give us an edge as a metal packaging industry. So I'll walk you through the sustainable solutions for metal packaging industry, from Henkel. So before we start, so we have made, as a company and as a partner to metal packaging industry, we have made our objectives clear from Henkel that by 2030, we will be the first global player which is having the climate positive operations by 2030. So we are not talking only about like climate neutral, we are talking about climate positive, and it's challenging. Now we have our plant in Turkey which boasts of this climate positive footprint already, and all across like by 2030, all of the Henkel plants from wherever we are supplying to all of our customers, that would be climate positive. So even my customers over here in India, to whom we are supplying, I mean, they can always boast of like, we have a partner in Henkel, which has got climate positive operations, right? So this is the one. we will, whatsoever we'll supply to our customers in India, it will have net zero or low emission. So if net zero is not possible, then low emission products would be offered to our customers. Again, as a company, the goal is to give 100% end-to-end transparency on sustainability. So with regards to all of our products, yeah? So that, let me start with the next one. So we'll talk about the low temperature cleaner. So before we start, I'm going to talk to you about 3 different segments. So first one, this particular product goes for 2-piece beverage can application. So as of all of you know, 2-piece beverage can industry is growing like a double-digit growth rate, yeah? And this industry has got very intensive requirement of eco-friendly solutions. So many of you might be knowing, but for those who doesn't know about it, so here it's a, if you see the operations, 2-piece can operations, so here it's a front end, we call, it's a coil, aluminum coil that is there. From there are cupping operations, it goes to body making, trimming, and finally it comes to washer. So here is where we are going to make an impact in the washer, because there is a lot of lube inside, coolants, some lube materials, tramp oil is there, and you need to wash it off. So you wash it off in the washer. So this is the product that we are going to offer, and we have done some. So this is the low temperature cleaner. Now we have conducted the trial with this product in US, and now we are going to offer it all across the world. So the impact of this particular product is almost 30% lower temperature as against the current products that are being supplied to this industry. 30% lower means, you see, currently the cleaners that we are supplying to our customers like Ball Beverages or Canpack, they are having 4 lines in India. So currently the temperature in this particular washer operation is in the range of 60 to 65 degrees Celsius. And we are going to reduce it to 43 to 48 degrees Celsius. So there is a lot of impact. And because of that, the first thing, very important thing, is the natural gas or the CNG gas usage at customer end. So the cost is reduced. Sustainability is there. At the same time, the applied cost of the customer is going to come down. Yeah? The carbon footprint obviously is going to come down. So it's you know, the whole way, it's a complete sustainability. At the same time, sustainability for the business of the customer as well. Yeah? Water reduction. So I'll take you through the next slides where we'll show you the water reduction part, that how water is going to reduce. Yeah? So when actually the temperature is going down from like there is a delta of almost 17 degrees, 17 to 20 degree delta in the temperature, ultimately the usage of water is also going to go down. This particular industry has a great concern on wastewater treatment. You know, the government of India and the pollution control boards, they have their concern. Now these laws are becoming stringent and stringent day after day. Day by day it's becoming stringent. So the water consumption, if I tell you the figures over here, so a million can, so in a day, if suppose 3 million cans are produced, almost 100 to 150 cubic meter of water is consumed. So you just understand how big it is. And the product will directly impact this usage of the customer. It will go down to most probably 90 meter cube. So a reduction of almost 20 to 30% water reduction, at the same time energy reduction, lower carbon footprint. Yeah? So if I may play this video for you. So this talks about this particular product, that some of the key features. So this was the first. Second, very interesting, I think, to our fraternity over here who are working into metal packaging or metal cap industry. So with the other development over here, it's a low bake varnish that is being recently developed. So I'll take you through this particular technology. So I have benchmarked it against the current product, which is acrylic based. Most of the industry people in the crown, metal crown and metal packaging, they know about this product. So it's acrylic based technology, and if you see the comparison, now the new product that is there, in the left column you can see that. So the good part about this particular product, it's a BPA-NI. I think people have issues about using the BPA based technologies. So though it's external application, I mean, I don't know how much sense it will make for people to claim BPA-NI for external application, but yes, it's BPA-NI, it's a polyester based. Contact time reduces drastically over here. So you can really play with your operations. It's 6 to 10 minutes of PMT is needed as against the current products which need 10 to 12 minutes of PMT. So 180 degrees Celsius to 200 degrees Celsius temperature is required. So may it be epoxy, may it be polyester, or may it be other acrylic technologies. But this particular product can be cured at 160 degrees Celsius as well. So ultimately what this product is going to give you, it's going to give you energy saving, carbon footprint reduction and improved production. So whatsoever trials that we have done with this particular product, what we have seen is that it actually benchmarks with the best of the products. In fact, in certain cases, it is better than the current varnishes. It is pasteurization as well as sterilization resistant product. So all in all, this is a new technology and going to help the customer. So this is again an innovative technology that we have worked on. Yeah. So if you see 160 degrees Celsius, if you want to, the customer wants to keep the temperature at 160 degrees Celsius, he can keep his setting same. While if suppose he wants to reduce it to 6 minutes, now more of the production is needed, you want to increase your production speed. This product has confirmed 6,000 sheets per minute running is confirmed for this product. So even if it's a high speed machine, it's still running well, and the production can be improved. So I mean 50% of the time is only required in the oven. So huge chunk of energy is saving for customers. Yeah. And lastly, I think Tata and JSW are there. So mostly they know about this topic, but I don't know whether all of us are aware of this. So we talk about the chrome-free passivation, CFPA. We talk about food, and still we are using chrome 6 in our metal plates, the tin plates. Yeah. Time is there, and time has come that we move away from the chrome 6. So in Europe, the date is deferred. I think I'm not mistaken, the date is deferred to 2026, but by 2026 our representatives, our colleagues from Tata and JSW can correct me, but that's what I heard about, that the date is deferred by 2026. The European steel manufacturers, steel plate manufacturers have to move from chrome 6 to non-chrome. Yeah, and this is the product which has been offered, and the appeal, I think if all of us are going through MCMA magazine, we have continuous lectures that we have the write-ups from Appeal also. So Appeal is an association of European producers for steel, for packaging. So we are working, Henkel is working very closely with them. This particular product, which is based on titanium and zirconium, which is having inorganic and organic layers, it has been developed. So tests are done. Most of the results, the application point of view, or the shelf life point of view, or the service life point of view, this particular product is giving superior results as against the chrome 6, current chrome 6 passivation layers. Yeah. So this is the next development that we have. I thought I'll share with you these 3 developments. Thank you. Appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. May I now request Mr. K.M. Shenoy to please come up on the stage and present the memento to Mr. Ravi Purbe, and also on behalf of Mr. Damian, he'll be taking the memento as well. So everyone, a huge round of applause for K.M. Shenoy. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Amazing speakers will be talking on the crucial topics. So I take this immense opportunity and pleasure to welcome Mr. B. Ramanathan on the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a huge round of applause for him? He is the head sales JSW Steel with more than 20 years of experience. His topic is on case study of recycling. So everyone, let's welcome him with a huge round of applause.
Yeah, while he connects, very good afternoon to all of you, especially to the dignitaries and the industry stalwarts sitting here, and to my dear customers who are here, and last but not the least, my dear colleagues. Out of this 20 years, my glorious years have been spent with these guys, so very happy to share the dice with them. And I also convey the apology on behalf of Ashwini Sharma, who was supposed to be here. So, this entire thing actually originates from a small event which had happened in the end of February. Many of us sitting here were a part of that. It was a small customer meet we had organized in our Bandrakul office. And it was a great opportunity for our CMD, Mr. Jindal, to meet some of our esteemed customers, and many of them were from the edible oil industry. And during the deliberation, a lot of issues were discussed, and one of the main concerns that came out was the concern of this cans getting reused multiple times. So that was not only cannibalizing the sales of prime tin plate, but also was posing to be a great health hazard, which the industry could not grapple with despite having laws which don't allow this to happen. So I think after that interaction and some ideas that were thrown by some of the customers, a flurry of activities was set in JSW, and it's in the DNA of the company to work with the speed at which we work. So a lot of activities happened since then and today. So it will be my joy to just take you along as to what all happened and what is the way forward. So we quickly made an analysis. We didn't have much of a time, but some of the data was available. So we just forecasted the edible oil sales that edible oil consumption that we look forward to see up to, say, in the coming 5 years. And if you look at the data, and the amount of tin plate that is required is nearly coming to 7 to 8 lakh tons, only for edible oil 15 kg. And as against that, Tata and JSW put together today are selling only 2.8. So we can imagine the amount of fresh sale that is getting cannibalized because of this recycling. And this is something that has been going on for generations. And we have not been able to do anything as an industry and been quietly accepting whatever is coming to us. So this was a very shocking revelation as we started doing the study. And then this triggered us to get deeper and get into the markets and try to understand what's happening. And we realized that there are so many states across the country, and this is just scratching of the surface. We have still couldn't do a lot of study because it was done by us with our own team and within the limited time. So with whatever data we could collect, this is the kind of picture that is emerging, that across the states, how much is the spread of recycled cans that is happening. And if you go to the clusters, there are more than 40 clusters in the country where more than 1 lakh cans per location per month is getting recycled. It's a mind-boggling thing. As we went into the markets and saw, we realized that we are literally sitting on, I don't know what to call it. It's a huge opportunity. It can transform the entire industry for both the players, Tata and JSW, and for the metal packaging as such. So it just inspired us to get into deeper to understand the whole ecosystem of this recycled tin. And it was like opening of a can of worms as we went inside and deeper and deeper. So if you see this whole thing, the cycle, there are 3 key players. One is the first brand, like say Adani Wilmar or Cargill, who buys the first new tin, branded tin. And then that goes to the market. Once the tins are used and consumed, the next set comes are the huge set of cleaners, they call. In the local community, they call them vagris. And their entire business model is to collect these cans, clean the cans, restore them, and to make them ready. And the next person in the chain is the repackers, who are again spread across entire country. And if we know of 4 or 5 brands like Fortune or Cargill or Bunge and all that, there are 500 of them in the local brands, or maybe more. And we may not be able to count them also. There are innumerable brands. And all the local dhabas, restaurants, eateries that you see are all serviced through these brands. So the next person in the chain is the repackers. They buy these wash tins, and because the price gap is significant, a new tin is all around 90, and the old one, depending on the stage of recycle, the gap is almost more than 50%. And they buy it, and then it comes back after use, again comes back through ferrywalas, it comes back to them, and this happens at least 3 to 4 times. So at least, if we can say that 3 times at least is for a proper oil packing, the 4th and 5th could be for other products, which we don't know how much of it is for what, but at least 3 times this goes for edible oil packaging. So then we went to more deeper, and we went to all these guys who do this job to understand what exactly they are doing. So if you look at this, this is how the tins arrive into the cleaners. And all the aesthetic part is being done to make it look as close to the new as possible. So there are rust marks, they have something called silvering, they do that. Okay, and that silver, I don't know whether it is food safe or what it is. It looks like a holika paint and very dangerous. So they do, and you see the last picture, it looks almost like there was no mark. Spout, they do it with such, deftness that you will be surprised. It's a matter of seconds, they just restore the entire spout. And then the dent, they have equipments for that. There's a guy there who just smashes it and gets the can back into shape. And this is the most dangerous. That entire bath is a horrific environment if you stand there and watch. And it is comprising of detergent, caustic soda, and all sorts of nonsense. And the color of the water is also almost like a murky, whitish. I probably couldn't stand there for long. I had issues breathing. And probably anyone visiting this, you'll stop eating food outside, definitely. And then the can is washed again. That is the final wash. You can look at the condition of the water where the can is washed finally. And then that apparently is ready for resale. And this, if it happens 3 or 4 times, you can imagine what it's happening to the product. And there are many instances where the final water remains in the can and it goes as it is. They don't empty it, and oil is filled in that. So based on all these interactions, some very clear facts came. Number one is, all these guys involved in the chain, they know that this is illegal and they are not supposed to do it. But the ecosystem is so well entrenched over the years that for some it is their only livelihood. For others, it's just easy money. These people otherwise will be begging or doing something. They're part of the family, extended family, so they're engaging them into doing all this. They get some money, he gets some money, and the whole system is running. Otherwise, the fact is that all of them are not willing to continue this. They are all fed up with this because the issues involved both for repackers as well as the washers are too many. The amount of headache he needs to get all this thing done, and that too for a small value addition. And for the repacker, there is always a huge risk of raids happening and a lot of leakages. And when leakages happen, he is not only losing money on the cans, but also with the oil. And the entire thing is debited onto the washer. So the washer is always very wary that X number of cans might come back to him and it will be a headache. So given an opportunity, all these guys in the chain want to stop it. So that is a good news for us, that if we want to get deeper into this and put a system in place, I don't think the resistance will be too much. And as I talk about in the next slides, you will know it. Another thing is, thankfully, large brands are there to support us. They are, whoever we have discussed with, they are ready to join hand because they are suffering the most in terms of duplication and other things. And of course, there are certain clusters, which is a good news, where already people have got the message and have started shifting from second hand to prime 10. So that's a good news for us, where they know that today or tomorrow is going to stop. So our next step was to know how do we have seen all this, studied all this, how do we now convert this into action and make it something measurable? So what we decided was to do a pilot study. Okay, so Pune being close to our office plant and our Dolby unit, which is close to there. So we decided we'll do a small pilot in Pune. We identified the largest cleaner there. It took almost say 7 to 10 visits to that place because they were very apprehensive. First, they didn't allow. They said, you can't come. The moment they came to know we are coming, they made some excuse. They covered their shop, shut their shops. So they were very, very apprehensive. But then with the help of some customers, we somehow gained entry. We spoke to them very nicely. We discussed with them, shared our plans. We said, we have not come to stop your work. Okay, we have not come to take away your margins. But this is the plan we have. So slowly we gained confidence and we spoke to them. Finally, those guys said, fine, we are ready to give it a try. And we started. And maybe, I think, 8th of April was the first consignment that we sent from Pune to our Dolvi plant for taking as raw material into the blast furnace. And that was absolutely successful. But as we did that, there were a lot of operational issues in the process which we had to address. But eventually the thing stabilized. And the progress now is that today we have 15 vendors who are onboarded across the country. And in less than 2 months, we have scrapped more than 500 to 700 tons. And we have met a whole lot of people in the community. And by now, because the news has spread like wildfire, we are flooded with calls of people who are ready to come and say, Mera bhi karo. But we have to be wary here because this is not a scrap business. We are not getting into scrap buying. We have to convince them that our intention finally is to stop recycling. So unless the washing stops, this is not going to translate into a prime sales for us. We'll end up becoming scrap buyers. That thing will also continue, scrap will also come. So we are getting people who are committed to this cause of stopping recycling. So wherever we have tied up, they have stopped washing. They are not washing. Even if repackers are coming to them, they're saying, ye tin nahi milega abhi. So, and that's the plan going forward. So if that requires some more support or some kind of a plan to create some infrastructure for them where they can keep those same set of people and do this, we are ready to do that. So this is what is a complete circularity that is happening. And for our furnaces, which is in Dolvi, we have in Vijayanagar, and we have the third one in Bhushan in Orissa. All these plants require scrap as raw material. So based on the location, those scrap will be taken to the respective mills and recycled. So plan forward is we plan to put around 50-60 collection centers, vendors across the country. And we try, our plan this year is to do at least 30 to 40,000 tons of scrap. Okay, that is still will be a very small thing, but if we can achieve that, and I'm extremely glad that Tata has also joined us in this, and if they also start doing it in Eastern region, other regions, it's going to reinforce this and help us do things faster. And very important thing is, this scrap is different from the melting scrap that a mill normally buys. Okay, that is determined by the market forces and they operate at a significantly lower level. But because tins have an opportunity cost, the buying price is slightly higher. So as a large organization, we may have to sustain this loss, if you call it so, difference between the regular scrap and this for some period of time. But if we have help from FSI, in terms of conducting periodic raids, say every 3 months or 6 months, and with both of our support, if we can push that, it will be a matter of 1 year that the entire thing will stop. And once this whole activity stops and they are finding great value in, just getting the cans, doing nothing, crushing, I don't think they will ever go back to washing again. And once that ecosystem starts, we can be comfortable and the prices will again come back to normal then. And we'll see the getting fructified into prime sales, which is what ultimately we want. So, and everyone here, plus the edible oil associations and leaders like association like MCMA, in whichever way we feel you can support us, or if we have any further ideas where we can come together, pool in something, there are a lot of things we can do. Automated, plenty of things we can do. You can have a wonderful franchisee model across the country. Give this job to somebody, let them do it, and it's just controlled by the two of us. So there are a lot of ideas we can think and do that, but we'll need a lot of support from the industry in whichever form, whether monetary or otherwise, because this, we feel that can be done if we are together, because one company alone can only do X quantity. Okay, now with TCL joining and other members joining, I think we can do a phenomenal job. So that was a short message I want to share with you. Thank you very much. Yes, I'll tell you. Now, the biggest, what do you call as, USP that we have in convincing the government is today we can say that we have a solution. You don't go to the government with just a problem that this is happening. Today I can tell I have a network across the country. If I stop reuse, I can buy back all the cans. And there, the community, nobody in the chain is losing their money or their margins. I'm ensuring that. So when I have going to government with this solution, I don't think they will, take time to implement this in a more stringent manner. And second is the entire operation so far is done in cash. There is no GST. So can you imagine the amount of GST loss for the government? If in 5 lakh tons of recycling that is happening, can you imagine 18%, what is the GST loss? It is zero today because everything is in cash. The ferrywala gives it in, he pays in cash, everything is settled in cash. Now, another interesting thing is their willingness to migrate from cash to digital payments itself shows that they want to come out of this. They just wanted somebody to show them another way, which we believe we have been able to. Now we have to see how much successful we are going forward, but they were just waiting for somebody to show the way. They're fantastic, yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Everyone, can we have a huge round of applause, guys? Everyone. May I now request Mr. Om Agarwal to please come up on the stage and present the memento to B. Ramanathan.